Good evening, visitors, and welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Gerard Pratt, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Corporal Anne Colley-Shaw. We warmly welcome Mr. Greg Hood, representing the Air Force Association. As always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those who are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this service is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome the members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony from around Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial. If able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. If able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through until the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record, which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths of floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Warrant Officer Douglas Rogers. Douglas Rogers was born on the 11th of November 1919 in Edmonton, north of the river in London, England. Known as Doug, he was one of 9 children born to Edward Joseph Rogers, an anatomy assistant, and his wife Ellen Josephine. Doug came to Australia when he was a child and settled in Adelaide with his family. He attended Goodwood Public School from 1931 and was dux of his year group in 1933. Doug went on to study at a local technical college. After 9 months, he found employment as a settlement clerk working for Adelaide land agents Hubert Sandow and Co. At the outbreak of the Second World War in 1939, Doug was studying an accountancy course and living in Wayville, South Australia. Rogers enlisted in the Royal Australian Air Force on the 16th of August 1941. He had previously served with the Royal Australian Engineers and started aircrew training at Victor Harbour. He undertook further training at Parafield, Malala, Adelaide, Bradford Park before qualifying as a pilot and gaining his flying badge less than 12 months later, on the 30th of April 1942. In August, he embarked from Sydney for overseas service, arriving in England in November. He spent the remainder of the year at a personnel reception centre in the seaside town of Bournemouth, before joining No. 27 Operational Training Unit in May 1943. Based at Litchfield, Rogers undertook night bombing training, operating the Vickers Wellington medium bomber. In July, he was transferred to the Royal Australian Air Force Base at Bicester, where he trained on Bristol light bombers before joining No. 14 Operational Training Unit at Cottesmore. At the end of November 1943, Rogers was made Warrant Officer before joining No. 180 Squadron in December. Based at Dunsford in Surrey, the squadron was part of the 2nd Tactical Air Force and was equipped with Mitchell medium bombers. Rogers' first operational missions took place over France and Belgium, where his unit was involved in destroying enemy construction works in preparation for the D-Day landings in June. On the 25th of January 1944, Rogers was captain of a 4-man crew taking part in a raid over Le Touquet on the Channel coast about 50 kilometres south of Calais. The attack was successfully carried out and Rogers and his crew were returning to base when their aircraft was hit by heavy flak. The starboard engine was smoking badly, but Rogers managed to fly the damaged aircraft back to England. Less than a mile from their base, he began to lose control of the bomber over a nearby town. Knowing he would be unable to make a safe landing, he ordered his crew to bail out. As the Mitchell continued losing height, Rogers narrowly avoided crashing into a local school. The aircraft plummeted into a nearby field before he could make his own escape. He was killed instantly. Successfully avoiding the school had denied Rogers time to bail out of the aircraft. The school's head teacher later noted that his selfless actions saved a considerable number of children from death or injuries at the cost of his own life. The 3 remaining crew survived the incident, sustaining only superficial injuries. Warrant Officer Douglas Rogers was buried at Brookwood Military Cemetery in England on the 29th of January 1944, with full military honours. Today, he lies beneath the inscription chosen by his family. It reads, "Loved in life, treasured in death, his duty nobly done." He was 24 years old. Douglas Rogers' name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Warrant Officer Douglas Rogers, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
If able, please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozieres, or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.